Hi, this is Leighton Jin. I'm the Director of Development for the American Documentary and Animation Film Festival. We completed our festival in March, and I can say one of my favorite films, maybe my favorite one, was from Ignacio Walker. It was Her Shark Story. Uh, Cinematically, it was a beautiful story, but they told such a great story and multi-leveled, and I just thought it was great, well, a great film, and I'm just excited Ignacio has agreed to speak with me today. So, Ignacio, let's start with this. How did you come across this story? And well, first of all, let's go. What inspired you to do this story, and how you came across your subjects?
Yeah. Hey, Leighton, great to see you again. I had such a great time at American Documentary and Animation Film Festival in Palm Springs. So it's great to see you again. Thank you for having me.
It was great to
Uh,
have you out there. It was a lot of fun.
the film came about because I've been working as a wildlife filmmaker for BBC and for Netflix for more than 10 years now. And I've always done like pure wildlife films as a cinematographer mainly. And I've done some directing work in other smaller projects. But I always wanted to see a film that was more human related, that would basically get to a bigger audience because wildlife films have a really strong audience, but it feels like it's always the same audience. So I wanted to tell a story that could resonate with a wider audience than your usual wildlife film. So I started looking for a human animal story. This was about the time of the pandemic, so actually my Octopus Teacher came out, a great inspiration for us. Um, and and I started asking around, and a friend of mine from the Galapagos in Ecuador came back to me a few months later, telling me, "Hey Ignacio, I have a story for you. This is this young marine biologist that reconnects with her absent father by going out to find the biggest shark in the world, the whale shark in the Galapagos." And I was like, "Biggest shark in the world, father-daughter reconciliation, female empowerment." It shot in one of the most beautiful places you can ever imagine. I was like, I'm down for it.
The cinematography was amazing in the film. And Sophia, can you talk about meeting her and her father and the chemistry you have? Because I think that's one of the key things about this movie is your chemistry, and it got her to open up about very personal things about her relationship, but then also
Yeah,
about her job and her crusade. I think we could say.
yeah. So we have two parallel stories, right? The personal story with Sophie and her father. The first approach to them was like, "Hey guys, I want to make the whale shark famous, but in order to do that, which is the biggest shark in the world, and what their work is all about, the conservation of the whale shark. But to do that, I really need to see why your passion came to be and where does your passion come from." Both Jonathan, who started the project 20 years ago, and then Sophia, when she joined the project around 7 years ago, or a bit more by now, and they were both excited about the idea of getting the whale shark out there. And we, throughout a whole year, we built sort of a circle of trust in which I got to know them. This is way before we started filming, a year before we started filming. And they're both lovely people. Both Jonathan and Sophie are such an inspiring, dedicated scientists, and just as people in general. They're amazing human beings. And that was very inspiring. And they have this such a strong, contagious energy about getting you excited about sharks. And by then I've never dived with sharks before. And because of the Jaws or those kind of films that get us scared about them, obviously I wasn't very sure about it. But then Sophia and Jonathan get me inspired about it, and then I end up jumping into the water with them. So it was a very beautiful way to really understand how sharks are the most beautiful creatures and how much we depend on it. But also to the personal level, we went to the Galapagos, just my co-director and I. So it was just the two of us that we spent a lot of time along with Jonathan and Sophia, and that enabled them to sort of open up to us. If this was like a big budget documentary with a big crew and everything, there's no way we would have been able to get to know Sophia and Jonathan at a personal level. So it was very key for us to keep the crew small on the side and then take it from there. And again, they open up their hearts to us, all around the purpose of getting the whale shark out there. And I think we managed to weave together a beautiful story of their personal journey and how the whale shark basically reconnected them. And that's the beautiful message about the film, is how nature reconnects our humanity.
And can you talk to me about how much of a transition it was? Because you mentioned that you're mostly cinematographer in a lot of these, but to be the director, I know you've directed some things in the past,
Yeah.
but for this documentary, that kind of works different muscles. Can you talk to me about making that pivot to be the interviewer, and how much of a challenge was it, and how much was it just discovering some stuff about some skill sets that maybe you didn't know you had?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, as a filmmaker in general, and I've done corporate films as well in between, you get to do a lot of interviews. So as a filmmaker in your growing career, you start understanding the human behavior in front of a camera and how to make them at ease in front of the camera and loosen up a little bit. So that's in a way instinctively, but also it comes with a lot of experience. So looking back in my career, like there's no job I've ever taken that didn't help me get to this moment, even weddings. So because sometimes you feel like I've only worked for BBC and Netflix, and it's not the case. I worked all over the place, and that has actually helped me build the skill set to do this intimate story. And I also do underwater, drone camera, and sound along with my co-director. So you need to have to be able to do all those things, and that comes from doing small jobs here and there. So that was a great thing, and I think it's very important to highlight my writer, Barney Rebel, who I worked with him before in the Steven Spielberg series Life on Our Planet. He came as our writer, and helped me with the master interviews of the film. And he helped us basically put the story together, right? A writer in documentary doesn't write the film, but it helps you make sense of everything you've already recorded. So he was a key aspect of basically, maybe the skills that I haven't get at that point, that he brought in from the outside. And I think we surrounded ourselves with a wonderful team. Our editor, Julie Podolsky, who lives in Washington, D.C. So all over the place, Chile, Washington, England, Galapagos, right? She also put together the story in such a wonderful way. So everyone on the team made the film, the story, be very cohesive in order to get the story out there in an entertaining yet moving, and intimate way.
The other thing we have to mention is Jonathan and Sophia are just so perfect on camera. Is that something that you helped shape, or was that they were just naturally good and you just had to put a camera on them? What was that? What was that like? Because they are they they feel like they could be movie stars, both of them.
Yeah, like I keep saying, if this was a movie, like fiction, scripted movie, and I had to do the casting, I would have probably gotten them as well. They were perfect. I mean, Jonathan had done some experience doing some earlier TV shows in his career, as a host, or appearances in BBC science documentaries. He was really good naturally, like right away on camera. He was really fun to work with. And, he looks like this James Bond English guy, but with a lot of world, with a lot of, history under his belt. So he's just this really interesting character. And then Sophia is the loveliest human being you could ever come across. And the minute I put the camera in front of each of them, they show their potential, because you can do the whole research for a year, and then you put the camera in front of your character, and then they get nervous or whatever. And Sophia had the biggest challenge, because she's the main character of the film, and I basically shoot her for like 3 years. And Jonathan, it was only the interview and one of the expeditions. So she had to suffer more, more me, right? Like guiding her in the camera and everything. But she was natural. She had the best attitude, and she was always willing to find spare time for us to get her on camera. And again, they're both wonderful human beings. They're both like really generous with their time and and very attractive on camera. Not just beautiful, but attractive in the way that their personalities come across the screen.
And then I think we talked about afterward. I couldn't remember if it was in the film or we talked about afterwards, but Sophia works what 3 jobs so she can do
Yes.
this work.
Yeah.
That dedication is remarkable. Can you talk about that? I think he captured her some of her side gigs.
Yeah. Well,
Man,
both of them actually do other jobs in order to focus. So just to put in context for the audience that haven't seen the film, Sophia and Jonathan have this NGO called Galapagos Whale Shark Project that dedicate to study the whale sharks in the Galapagos, to do the science and to get discoveries in order to make policies that will, extend ocean protected areas and that kind of thing. And this is an NGO that Jonathan, along with Alex Hearn, started 20 years ago. And so they work on this for 20 years. Obviously, Sophia joined later, his daughter, and they do this for free. They both do this for free. And in order to keep doing this for free, they have to get other jobs. Jonathan works as a guide in Antarctica, and Sophia works as a guide, as a dive master instructor as well, and guide underwater. She works for other NGOs as well. She she's done such a long now she's doing Antarctica guiding as well as her father before her. That's up after the film, but it's amazing. It's really, and we show a little bit of Sophia also leads initiatives in Galapagos for beach cleanups and that kind of things in her spare time. It's amazing how much work they put into everything else, plus their Galapagos Whale Shark Project initiative, which is pretty much a full-time job. But yeah, it's really inspiring for the rest of us that are trying to get inspiration to help save the world.
and then let's talk about the whale sharks. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about it. We want to get too much into it, but what did you learn about the whale sharks from doing this film? And because it's it's a mammoth project that they're embarking in. It's just amazing that they're working other jobs as well as
Yeah.
doing this project. What did you learn about it, and what do you think people should know about the whale
Yeah.
sharks?
The first thing that I was really surprised, because I've known the whale shark for a while. I've been a diver since I was 15. I work as a wildlife filmmaker, so the whale shark was always on my radar. But my first biggest surprise is how little is known. This is the biggest shark in the world, like looks like a creature that came out of the Avatar movies. It's really special animal, and it's just so beautiful in this. I mean, if Sophia and Jonathan look great on screen, the whale shark is just like a god. It's amazing. So very easy to film in that way. But I was surprised that very little people knows actually that the whale shark exists. Like I would start asking people in the street, and I don't know, this is a rule of thumb, so don't take my word for it, but one every 10 people in the street would know what a whale shark was. If you ask people around, can you name me three whale sharks? Three sharks. They'll say, white shark, maybe hammerhead, and that's about it. And maybe tiger or bull shark or whatever, and a few whale sharks there. So I was surprised. This is an endangered species. There's 50%, their population is down 50% in the last 75 years. So one single human lifetime, they're half of the whale sharks there were 75 years ago. And they're the big like caretakers of the oceans. They move all around the world in warm or tropical waters, so not Antarctica, not the Arctic. But they use all these paths called marine corridors, which are used by other very important species that help protect the ecosystem of the ocean. Which I don't know if you know, but every other breath that you take, the oxygen comes from the ocean. So we highly depend on the ocean. It regulates the climate of the world. So we depend on the ocean health for us to be alive, actually. And the whale shark basically is like what is called an umbrella species. By protecting the whale shark, because it uses such big areas of the ocean, you protect so many other species that help protect the oceans at the end of the day, which is what we desperately need.
I gotta admit, after I saw the film, I was trying to remember. I remember watching the fourth Star Trek movie where they saved a whale to save the world, and I was like, wait, was that a whale shark who's actually humpback? But that when I was watching your film, that's what I started thinking of. I was like, wait a second, is that what Star Trek did? But that's just, just my pop culture reference.
But I
Um,
love that because, pop culture really defines us as a society at the end of the day. I wish it was philosophers and big thinkers, but pop culture gets to most people. And that's what we try to do with this film. So, like, this is not a conservation film per se. This is a family father-daughter story, relationship story, sorry, that appeals to everyone, whether you care or not about nature. It's a really fun adventure film as well. That you have these great scientists going to the end of the world, diving and having these adventures, and it's a very intimate drama story as well. So we did this film in a way that it will appeal to people that don't want to watch conservation film, because conservation films can be a little bit preachy, can be a little bit daunting or overwhelming. And I think what we did and the feedback we've got from the audience in your film festival and other film festivals that we've been in, it's exactly that. It's like people is connecting with the film for the right reasons, for the human story, and then it's sparking their curiosity, sorry, about ocean conservation, about the whale shark.
yeah, and then you mentioned the feedback you got at AmDocs. You've been at a few other festivals. What are some of the other feedback that you've been getting about the film?
I mean, I mean, I get written messages from a lot of people that's cried a lot with the story, that they say like, I want to talk to my dad again, or I didn't know the whale shark existed, and I want to donate to the cause of Sophia and Jonathan. So we're getting all these really inspiring messages that we're starting to share in our social media at Her Shark Story. And it's just overwhelming, the appreciation from the audience. And we're just getting started. We're just getting started with the festival run. We're lucky enough to do the world premiere at your film festival in Palm Springs. So I'm just very excited to get this film to as many people as possible.
Well, like I said, we were excited to have it. It was such a great film. We talked about a little bit off camera, but I'm going to ask you on camera. But what's some of the best experience that's evolved since this film started? Whether it's feedback from fans, I know there's one thing that was really cool, but I'm not sure we could talk about it. But there's a lot of positive that's come from it. What's some
Yeah.
of the positive that's come that's really stood out from you? I know you mentioned some of the feedback about fathers and daughters.
Well, as you well said, there's like the biggest things I cannot talk about just yet, just because the way the film industry works. I would be very excited to share it, but I can't. And again, it's just the simplicity of the film and how it connects and entertain people as well. And it leaves you feeling happy. Like, what I really like about this film is that you finish it, and you feel inspired, you feel happy. You otherwise, most of conservation films or natural history films, you feel like very, depressed at the end of it, because oh my God, the world is coming to an end. And this is the exact opposite. So I think that the biggest feedback and inspiring things about the film has been that how inspired the people feels after the film, and that has led us to screen the film in some very special places that I cannot talk about yet, and to some very interesting people that I cannot talk about yet. But what I can say is that in mid-June we are doing the world premiere in Asia. Uh,
Oh,
so in a film festival to be announced. And then later in July, it's going to be in Australia, again in a film festival that we are soon to be announced. So the film is spreading, and now we're getting calls from other film festivals that are excited to have our film in their film festivals. So the word of mouth is spreading, and we're getting there.
You know what else I'm excited for you? The other thing I'm excited for you is that all the frequent flyer miles you're collecting this year, you're going all over the world. You have some great free flights at the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Very expensive,
Um,
but it's fun.
and this is a general question just about filmmaking, but you kind of you touched on it. I just want to expand on it. Is I think the biggest part about when you create content stuff is it's connecting with people, and you find a way to connect with people.
Yeah,
Um, how important is it and how challenging is it for you as a filmmaker to find connections with your audience? Because to me, that's always the key. If they don't connect with the material, then nothing matters, no matter how important the subject is or
yeah,
whatever. And obviously, you connected, and I can speak for myself, that you connected with me. I really enjoyed your film, and it was really on a lot of different levels, and it got me engaged in the topic.
yeah.
Sometimes I watch a lot of stuff and it goes in one ear, out the other, but not this one. This stuck with me. Can you talk
Thank you.
about what the things that you look for in a film and to create that engagement, and also what films that you see that creates that for you?
Yeah, I think, first of all, the beautiful thing about filmmaking is that no one has cracked the code yet. There's no formula. I mean, people try it over and over again, and the big studios are constantly, trying to come up with a formula that resonates with a lot of people because you want it to be also a commercial success. For me, it's very important so I can make my next film as well, right? But personally, I think if this get message, I guess, gets to filmmakers. First of all, you as a filmmaker, you have to like what you're doing. If I don't like my film, like if I do it so other people like it, I think those are the wrong reasons to motivate you to do a film. I think you have to like it first of all. But I personally really love films that are entertaining and popular, but are artistically, valuable, right? I love Lord of the Rings. I love Jurassic Park, and those films get like to millions and millions of people, and they're very popular. They're very entertaining, but they don't fall into the category of cheesy or just like money making blockbuster. They are profound films, maybe sequels or whatever they do around it, but I think you can do films that are appealing to a very wide audience while being entertaining without sacrificing the artistic value of the film. So that's what I try to do. That's the films that I like to watch. Obviously, I also like very artistic films, from special directors, but I just don't think I'm talented enough to do things like Paul Thomas Anderson or Stanley Kubrick or whatever, right?
You never know until you try. Maybe maybe that could be your next film, or maybe someone will see what you've done with this film and give you an opportunity. I mean,
Who knows? Yeah.
you did a really brilliant job. Um, you said you started your career has been wildlife
Yeah.
cinematographer, filmmaker, journalist. Can you talk to me how you got into film and then specifically the wildlife?
So I grew up in Chile and I studied cinematography in Chile, and I was always, inspired by film in general. But I was like a Boy Scout when I was a kid, and I loved just going to nature and, exposing myself to the wildlife. So for me, it came very naturally to try to apply to work for the BBC at that time. And BBC historically, they mostly work with English people, right? And then National Geographic and Netflix more recently, right, with a lot of American, but mostly Northern Hemisphere cameraman. So or camera woman. So it was a long shot for me, but I was very excited about it, and the opportunity presented to me to be an assistant in Patagonia, in which is in Chile, where I'm from, and then I started to basically climb the ladder. So maybe once a year I would have a little gig as an assistant, and then they would let me do some camera work. until I got the chance to do camera work. And we even got an Emmy nomination for our work in Our Great National Parks, which is a Netflix series that was mainly shot by a Chilean crew. So we have proven also as Chilean, not just me, but all the Chilean community and wildlife filmmakers down there, the talent is there. And this is a beautiful industry and a global industry. So I'm really happy to bring the talent from Chile to a film that is very global, right? It's meant to reach a global audience.
Well, you did such a remarkable job. Like I said, it might be my favorite. I don't want to. I know there's a lot of great films in our festival, but that one left a mark in a wonderful way. Ignacio, thank you for speaking with me today. I'm glad we got to catch up yet again, and
Yeah, it's so good to see you.
I look forward to seeing what the rest of the year has in store for you and Her Shark Story. I just want to remind people that our festival for next year we're taking submissions already, and you have till the end of the year to submit your films. Next year's festival is March 25th to 29th in Palm Springs, California. Go to www.amdocfilmfest.com to get your information. Ignacio, can you share your websites and where people can find some more information about Her Shark Story?
Of course, it's www.hersharkstory.com. And I want to encourage, since you were talking about your film festival, to people to submit to it because it's not only a lovely place in Palm Springs, but the people around the film festival, you and Ted and everyone in the organization, they were just so kind and they felt like a family. And getting to meet all the other filmmakers was such a blast. So I encourage everyone to submit to AmDocs film festivals because it's such a great film festival.
Well, what makes it great is people like you, Ignacio. We enjoyed having you at our festival. We were thrilled to have your film and have it the world premiere at our festival. And we're high on the film. I mean, we're hoping we'll see you on the Oscars.
I'll
Who
see you in
knows?
a
But we wish nothing but the best for you, Ignacio. Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone for watching. Thanks again,
Thank you.
Ignacio.
And say hi to everyone for me there. Bye.
Absolutely.